Welcome everyone to another live session at the Reactors. I apologize, we are a little bit behind schedule. We had some technical problems, but we are here live with you. This session is in collaboration with Learn Live. My name is Ravneet and I am the Program Manager at Reactor London. Before we begin, please take a moment to read our Code of Conduct. We're all here to learn, so please be respectful of other people's views and opinions, and please be kind and considerate in the way you engage. The chat will be open throughout, and we do encourage you all to participate. Today is the third and final episode of the three-part Azure AI Fundamentals series. In today's session, you will learn all about how building a bot with language service and Azure bot service. And this session will be led by Ruth and Amy, both cloud advocates at Microsoft. I also wanted to let you know that this series partners up with Microsoft Certified, which is Azure AI Fundamentals certification. So we are hosting a 30 days Learn It challenge. And by completing the challenge, you can be eligible for 50% off the cost of a Microsoft certification exam. I'll put the link in the chats, and Amy will also be discussing this in more detail in her presentation. With that, I'm now going to hand over to Amy and Ruth, who will lead the session. Hi, Amy. Hi, Ruth. Over to you.
Hi, Rav. Thank you so much. Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this Learn Live session called Build a Bot with Q&A Maker and Azure Bot Service. My name's Amy Boyd. I'm a cloud advocate here at Microsoft, and one of my passion areas is AI. However, today I am your host and question master, whereas actually Ruth is our expert in this space. So Ruth, could you briefly introduce yourself for us?
Sure, Amy. Thanks for having me. My name is Ruth Yakubu. I'm also a cloud advocate on the AI and machine learning team at Microsoft. And yeah, I'm excited to share about the Q&A maker today.
I was going to say, yeah, today is all about chatbots and conversational AI. It's a huge part of the Azure AI platform, and as Rev said, part of the Azure AI Fundamentals as well. So Ruth's going to take you through not just the basics, because we've done a little bit of prep beforehand, but actually really dive into some cool elements of Q&A and Azure Bot Service, and actually even other technologies that are going to allow you to build conversational AI agents or chatbots. So let's get started. But without further ado, you might have already chatted to him in the chat, because when we were running a little bit late, he was letting you all know. Please welcome Henk Baldwin. Henk is one of our another advocate. We're all on the same team here. But you're going to be sitting and being our moderator, Henk. Thank you so much for joining us today. Wonderful. So yeah, Henk's going to be behind there. We just want to show you his face. He is real. It's not a chatbot who's in the chat, ironically. Maybe we will build one that will help us in the future. But Henk's a superstar. He'll be able to answer some of your questions. He'll also be passing those questions on to us, and we'd love to engage with you. So make sure the minute you have a question, put it in the chat. And engage with us. We definitely want to answer your questions and make the most out of this Learn Live environment. Also, though, jot down this URL or open it right now if you can, aka.ms/learnlive. Then you've got the date there backwards, so -2022-0314B. That will take you to the Learn module, the Microsoft Learn module. That's a set of self-paced learning that this session is based on. So you can go ahead and follow along. Also, you can just take in this session, just listen to the wisdom that Ruth's got to share, and then you could do this afterwards. But I highly recommend either scanning that QR code, popping that link into your browser, or saving it in a OneNote, and make sure that you have it available, because this, again, is a huge part of getting certified if that's something that you want to do with AI Fundamentals. So on Learn Live, we always have a learning objective. So just to check we're all in the right session, we're all here for the same purposes. This session is all about creating a Q&A maker knowledge base with an Azure bot service. So if that doesn't make sense currently, we will check back in at the end and hopefully that will make sense to you. But what Ruth's going to go and take us through is do an introduction to conversational AI. We're going to talk a little bit about Q&A Maker, which is such an amazing cognitive service that we have in Azure. And then also, how do we actually make that into a chatbot? Where does it get hosted and what does it look like? So without further ado, Ruth, over to you. Do you want to get started?
Yes, awesome. That was a good introduction. So like Amy mentioned, today we're going to be covering how to create a bot using Q&A Maker knowledge base with Azure Bot Services. If we can go to the next screen.
Do we have your screen? Is it Ruth?
No, I think Rav is navigating in the back.
Oh, okay, wonderful. Okay.
Awesome. So in today's connected world, as we know, people are using a variety of technologies when it comes to communicating. So we communicate via voice calls, messaging, online chat application, email, social media, collaborative work tools, and so many more. And with all of this, there's a growing number of need for businesses and brands to meet users where they are. And also with users connecting with all these different devices, they need a faster way to communicate with brands, get answers quickly, and also use the existing platforms that they're currently using to get answers faster. And with when it comes to getting answers, it's not just I type a question and you give me an answer. People need a more conversational type of Q&A when they're engaging with a product or brand. And they also want to have a sense of personalization. So if I ask you a question, if Amy's our bot,
Of course.
if I ask you a question, the users want something that is more personalized and not general.
Yeah.
So if we can go into the next slide.
Of course.
The one before. Yeah. See, by the end of this session, hopefully we'll have a bot to easily navigate between the slides. So one thing, while we see a lot of organizations, the way they publish their support information right now is via their websites. They do it via Q&A, so they'll have a Q&A page. And we're seeing an increasing number of businesses now and organizations wanting to go and build solutions that use AI solutions that utilize bots. And with that, it gives a more conversational aspect to it using natural language processing. And this solution comes, it's like a double-edged sword. On the user end, I'm sure everybody is aware of when you go to a business's FAQ page, there are tons of questions there, and you just want to get your answer, find your question that you have, and find an answer and get out of there. So it's very difficult to find answers using Q&As. And also, even when there are Q&As, businesses run into situations where they have maybe like a support center, and the support center, people that are working there, we're calling them and they're getting frequently asked questions, and it kind of ties them up to these mundane, repetitive questions that can easily be handled with a chatbot. So if we can go into the next page.
Sure. The interesting bit I've always found about bots is something you just said then, which was if I go to a Q&A on a web page, if it's as you said, a frequently asked question, it'll probably be up there pretty high. That'll give you a bit of information. One thing I've noticed is like synonyms. So like the same word, like they might use a word like a certain business that I wouldn't maybe call it as like a customer. And I always find chatbots can handle that scenario probably a lot better than that sort of static web page would. So yeah, for me, I've definitely noticed that with conversational AI, that's a way that chatbots really excel, actually, if they have that language built in.
Yeah, I'm glad you pointed that out because that's part of the difficulties users face when finding an answer, because there could be a question and answer in the FAQ, but the terminology I'm using is not one of the keywords that is matching exactly. And sometimes we have, let's say the business has English. English is probably my second language, so I'm probably not using the correct terms or the phrasing of my question. So with all of this different channels that are out there, whether it's a website, whether it's a social media platform, whether it's um, MS Teams, these are all different channels that people use. But the crucial thing is, how can businesses and brands meet users where they are? So in the last slide, we saw a window with a chat bot. There was a Q&A, but yeah, exactly that one. But easily, you can create it in one place and be able to deploy it into different channels. So if you have a group of users that used to go into the web, some going to social media, some going to, let's say, MS Teams or even Alexa, you can create something once, and the interface and the interaction the interface will change, but the interaction does not change. So if we can go to the next screen. So if you can go back, those are some of the examples of the different channels that are out there that people use. There's Slack. It's not just Microsoft first tooling, it's third-party tooling that people are utilizing out there. So Twilio and all of that. So these are examples of the different channels that you can create one bot, but be able to deploy it into different channels.
So if I was a business, I'd probably, the best thing for me to do would be first analyze where my users most spend their time, and then kind of consider those channels as low-hanging fruit and kind of go for them first, make a really great experience just in those places. It reminds me a bit of Xamarin, kind of that idea that you can have it cross-platform. It very much feels like that.
Yeah. And, the good thing is businesses are always trying to find where users are. One of the things I forgot to mention is, let's say you're also a startup and you have your business, but you have a whole ton of users coming to engage and interact with your brand. Chances are you don't have customer service resources. So how are you going to be able to scale your business while you need to hire people to also answer all those questions. So all of these different channels helps you scale faster and also increase the number of cuts your costs in terms of the number of overhead resources that you have to hire to handle customer service. Okay, so let's get into get a high level information about the Q&A maker using Azure bot services. And I'll go through that in the next 10 minutes. Then the rest of the session, I like to just walk through so people can better understand what we're talking about.
Nice. Love a good demo. Take it away.
Yeah. So taking a step back, when we think of bots, one thing that is crucial for people to understand when you're creating your bot with, let's say, Q&A maker, you have your main code that you can utilize using whatever, using the REST API. You can also use SDKs out there. You can also use Microsoft Azure Portal, which is very fast and very easy because you can visualize what you're doing better. The channels that we're talking about, the different connectivities, whether it's web, Teams, or Twilios, those are the different connectors. Then it has the ability for you to integrate other intelligence on top of the intelligence that it has in your solution to make it a little more robust. But we can go into details with that. Next slide. Okay. So to get started, you can easily create a user support solution using Microsoft Azure. And all you need is these two technologies. The very first one is Q&A Maker. And Q&A Maker is part of the Azure's cognitive services. These are pre-built AI solutions that are out there that has all the intelligence that you need. And it basically enables you to create and publish a knowledge base. And we'll go into details later what a knowledge base is. But it also uses built-in natural language processing capabilities in terms of catering to whatever business interaction or conversations that you're having with the users. Next thing in the back end is a bot framework. So the bot framework is Microsoft framework that enables you to easily develop, publish, and manage your bots in AI. The next one. Okay. So the question is, how do we provision a Q&A maker? So to provision is pretty easy. You create a Q&A maker resource on the Azure using your Azure subscription. And that enables you to create your knowledge base. And we can go into the next slide. So what is a knowledge base? So this is actually, this is actually the part that would be the challenging part. A knowledge base is basically where is your information for your business? So you can create a knowledge base. Basically, all it is you have a list of questions, you as a business, that you anticipate users that are going to be asking, and you're providing solutions. Or sometimes it's based upon business or user engagement questions that people have asked in the past that you can easily create a spreadsheet with the question and the answer. Or you may have an FAQ page and you can easily point to that, and We all have seen FAQ pages. It has questions and answers. So same structure. The good thing is you can use things like Word document. You can use it for product manual, SharePoint, and editorial content. So that's basically what your knowledge base is. So you can go to the next page. Okay. So to create a knowledge base, kind of like what I alluded in the last slide, all you need is a question and answer. So there's always a question and answer pair. You can generate the FAQ documents or web page from existing content that you have in your documents or your website. You can also import a pre-trained Chit Chat. This is my favorite, and we can go into details into that. And basically what a Chit Chat is, it actually adds more personality into your conversation. So if your brand, depending on your demographic, let's say I'm a doctor's office, obviously I want a more proper English, like professional dialogue. If I have something with maybe youth, younger uh, demographic, I'll probably need something more friendly, let's say high school students or whatnot. And another good thing is you can create it manually. So those are different ways that you can create a knowledge base.
Nice. One thing I've noticed, when the first time I created a chatbot, I think I was building what it could do, so what it could answer with its intents and stuff like that. Almost the entered and edited manually way. It could do this one thing and it could do this second thing, but it felt really rigid. It felt really structured. And then I remember adding in the FAQ document, and all of a sudden it felt like my bot could answer, 10 or 20 more things than it could before. So it already felt flexible. Then add in that Chit Chat, all of a sudden it was then actually conversational almost. It felt like, it understood that I wouldn't just open, a chat box and then just be like, here's my demands, like in text, like you're like, hi, how are you? Like, can you help me with my account or whatever? Like handling all of that element of it as well is so important with conversational AI. So even just doing each of these things when relevant, it seems so important.
Yeah. And yeah, those are where the natural language processing it's intelligent enough in the Q&A maker to, as you're typing whatever utterances that you want on the screen or in the chat, it does understand what your intent is, and it's able to find the best answer for the question that you have. So that's a good point to add. So when you're defining your question answer pair, for example, you can say, enter a question like, what is your head office location? Okay, that's a question. Another way, another alternative way to ask the same question is, where is your head office located? So there are different ways of phrasing things, but it's all asking the same thing. And the good thing is with Q&A Maker, as you're creating your knowledge base, you're able to handle these types of situations. Okay. So the next thing is once you create your knowledge base about everything about your company that people will come and ask questions about, the next thing is, okay, let's train this. So actually when you're doing the training, basically what it's doing is that's where it's applying the natural language processing capabilities. So it's basically taking your questions and matching them with the best possible answers. So even if the sentence of question that you entered, it's one way, it can think of different ways that a user can phrase that, and it can easily map it to the right questions once a user starts engaging and interacting with the bot service. So the next thing is once you train, and when you train your knowledge base is actually a model. You actually train a model, and you're ready to publish it. So to publish it, you basically deploy it, and it does all the training. And the output it gives you, it's going to give you the knowledge base ID. It's going to give you the endpoint. It's going to give you the key. So let's say you're coding whatever language that you decide to code, and you want to integrate with your chatbot. It has all of these for you to easily incorporate it in your code and be able to connect to the knowledge base and start interacting with the knowledge base.
Nice. And so if anyone has watched previous episodes of this series, they'll be used to the Azure Cognitive Services, similar kind of idea. We did a computer vision session, specifically where we spoke about custom vision. That was kind of bring your own images, train your own custom vision model. This to me almost feels like train your own conversational model and then access it in exactly the same way that you access our cognitive services. So lots of things in the AI space now, the build versus buy kind of discussion that we always have is this is kind of a very happy medium, and you can just access it using the REST API, which is a wonderful way to do it.
Exactly. Yep. So if we can go back to the last slide. Oh, yeah, that's good. So building it is pretty simple. After you create and publish your knowledge base, the next thing is actually to deliver it to whatever channel that you want to deliver to. So we can go into details on how to go about delivering your bot. This slide is actually extra. We're going to show the very visual, easy way that you can get started. This is 1 hour. So in the next hour, once you go through the training, and if you use your own, let's say FAQ page or your own knowledge document, you should be able to have something going forward. So it's very quick and easy. But if you want to create a custom bot by coding it yourself, you can utilize the Microsoft Bot Framework SDK. And basically from there, it's able to help you control the different conversation flow and be able to build a more robust, conversational flow. Because you kind of mentioned earlier, intense conversation back and forth. Let's say your company has already an existing bot service. You can easily integrate with this, Q&A maker. So that's where the bot framework comes into play. So after you create your bot, there are different ways of extending it. You can use a custom code. You can also test the bot interactively on the Azure Portal. And you can also look at logs and the analytics. So you can see over time all the different questions that users are asking. You can see that, and also the scoring. Because one thing we're talking about, this is the AI solution, natural language processing. It is matching your question to an answer, but the question is it doing a good job matching to the right answer? So with all of that, you can look at it. Let's say if it's the scoring is less than 50%, then you know, okay, you need to go back and change your knowledge base and retrain your models so users are better able to get a more accurate answer.
Love that. That's that feedback mechanism, isn't it, in some senses? And logging and analytics is just a perfect way to make sure it's always improving as well. If we start using a hip new word or something like that, we need to make sure it knows that.
Yeah, that's true. Oh, yeah. And also, that's a good point. Sometimes business processes also change. So they may be different ways of doing things depending on the scenario. So you may want to also update that as business processes change too. So when your bot is ready to be delivered to users, as we keep mentioning, you can deploy it to multiple channels and be able to get a more conversational, interactive conversation with whether it's through like a web chat, email, Microsoft Teams, or other third-party communication media. The fun part.
Yay! Wonderful. I'm so excited to see this because really is 5 minutes to wow. And then Ruth's going to add in so much more as well. So Ruth, are you sharing your screen? Are you going to drive from here? Wonderful. There we go. Yes, we can see it.
So this is the Azure Portal. So basically, when you're creating your bot, the very first thing you need to do is create your language resource. So you just click on create a resource. Then we're dealing with AI and machine learning. So you go to AI and machine learning, scroll down to language services and click on that. So the very important thing is once you're here, you can see that you can select the custom question answering, because this is the one that deals with the knowledge base. So you can select that, then click continue. So it's going to ask you to create your resources. It's going to ask you to name your bot. It's going to ask you to select the pricing tiers. There's a free tier. You can start with that. Then agree to the terms and clauses especially for responsible AI and whatnot. So once you create your resource, due to the sake of time, I've already created a resource, so we can use an existing resource. So I'm going to go to demo. So once you create your language resource, and once it's done creating the resource, this is what you're going to get. This is the actual language resource. And also, it also creates a search service. Basically, the search service is using Azure Search. So it's just indexing your knowledge base so it can easily find answers easier. So once you do that, the next thing is actually going to you go to the language studio. So to go there, you type in language.cognitiveservice.azure. In this case, we're going to be creating a new resource. We're going to create a brand new project. And I'm going to select.
Oh, Ruth, we're seeing the Azure Portal still. Is it on a different screen?
Oh, that's a good point. Hang on.
Let's do a reshare just in case. I was like, I'm pretty sure she's talking about something we should be seeing here.
That's a good catch.
That's what I'm here for. Hostess with the mostess. That's what I've heard.
Exactly. Okay. Let me know if you can see the screen.
Yeah, that's better. We can see welcome to the language studio. Perfect.
So the very first thing you do is create a project. So in this case, we're going to create a custom question answering. So we're going to select that. And with this one, it asks you whether you want to select a language. So we want to select our specific language. So the very first thing I'm going to do is create a project name. So I'm going to call it Contoso Travel. Give it a description. And this is where the good thing about this is it supports multiple language, since we have like a diverse audience. So you're able to select the language that you want your bot to be.
I'm guessing the language model it uses behind the scenes as well then is optimized for your spoken language, isn't it? So either optimized for English or Spanish or German or whatever is chosen there. So that's really cool to see, because then it will probably do better understanding those synonyms that we were talking about earlier.
Exactly. Yeah. So once you create the project, the very first thing is to specify where your data is coming from, your knowledge base. So if you have an existing one, you can add a file and just browse to it. If you have, let's say, a Word document, in our case, let's use a Word document and via URL, and give me a second. I have the URL somewhere where I place the document. So you provide the document where your knowledge base is, and I'm going to say FAQ doc. So you go ahead and add the URL for that. While that's creating the knowledge base, the next thing you can also do is, with this one, let's open the document. So this is actually the document that I just uploaded. So as you can see, there are different ways of defining your question and answer. In the presentation, I just showed a column. So there was one column of question, another column of answers. In this format, the questions are on top, the answer are at the bottom. But the good thing is the Q&A maker, the knowledge, when you're creating the knowledge base, it's able to recognize that and be able to know that, yes, you are dealing with, it's able to understand the format and know what a question is and know what an answer is. Then let's say you want to add more text based upon what you already have. For this, I'm going to say hello. And the answer, the user's gonna say hello, and I'll say hello. Um, Here to assist you, or something in that nature. I'm sure there's a more fancy way of customer service greeting people. Then, kind of like how I was mentioning, some people will come in and say hello. Some people will say hi. You can add, if you have no like different utterances that people come and enter, I mean, ask questions, you can easily answer that. I mean, add to that. And also, if you have different prompts that you want to add, you can also do that.
Yeah, I always like that you can add multiple responses as well. So you could like try another way of saying something if you were trying to understand if your users were having a better experience. Should you when it gives it a slightly different way of saying, "Hello, welcome to the bot. This is what I can do," sort of thing, and the intro element. A really, really good example for the synonyms I've always found is a lot of people call taking time off from work vacation. So, for example, Ruth, I think over in the US, they call it vacation time. Over in
Mhm.
the UK, here, we call it holiday.
Wow.
Not sure why. We speak very, very similar languages, do things very similar, but we have some things that are slightly different. And so one time I was creating a bot with someone, and I was like, I'd designed it being from the UK. And so I was like, oh, like can I check my holiday balance or whatever? And then someone
Mhm.
was like, it's not working. It's not working. And I was like, oh, it's because I've trained it on holiday and not put vacation in there. So it was a real miss. So
Mhm.
remember, responsible AI, design with others, test with others, exactly the same in conversational AI case as well.
Exactly. And, when we think of it, most businesses and organizations deal with customers all over the world. So I'm glad you use that example, um, because, yeah, you'll be able to, even though we're still speaking English, there are different ways of using certain terms. So once you're done entering your questions and the different answers, you can click on submit. You can also, if you scroll through, you can see all the different questions that are um, in the document. So the next thing that is pretty cool is actually you save this, your changes. So that's gonna take a while. And once we're done with this one, I'll go back and show you how to also add the chit chat. So now that it's saved all the changes that you have to edit, basically to test it, you go to test. So let's see. Instead of saying hello, let me just say hi. So kind of like you see, um, it shows the response that I want to welcome users when they are engaging with the bot. So the next thing is, as you're also managing your resources, let's say you have like a web page that already has a FAQ that you want to add to this. So you necessarily do not have a document. Let's see what. So you want to go to your HTML page or whatever document that has a FAQ. In this case, I'm going to go to the Microsoft free account, and people always have questions about creating an account and the different constraints around the account. So if you notice, this one does not have like, it's not like your typical HTML. It has all this query strings. So let's see whether it's going to take that. Fingers crossed. So it's
Nice plug there for an Azure free trial account. If you do want to try out these services like Ruth is doing, remember you can go to azure.com/free, I think it is, and go and find a free trial or gather a free account. We even mentioned there's a free tier for most services as well. So you can definitely go and test these things for free. I won't say free again. Carry on, Ruth.
Yeah, actually goes hand in hand. As people are learning, they might as well use the page to create an account. So as you see, there are multiple questions here and answers under there. So if you see there, it's like a different UI. It's a little more fancier, but the bot maker is intelligent enough to be able to go through and decipher, okay, what are the questions? How do I find the answers? So let's see. Let's say somebody asks, can I spend my credits on Azure Spot Virtual Machine? That's the context. Sorry. If they have a question, let's see. Let me find a better one. The questions are so long. Okay, well, we can, due to timing, but if you have time, yeah, you can go through all of that and be able to see the different questions that people have that are on this page and look at the answer. So that's one way of adding your knowledge base into a website. Into your knowledge base. The next one is actually called Chit Chat. And this is the one that adds a little more personality into your bot. So you can choose a persona that you want. So if you have like a professional setting, like a law office or a hospital, you can choose that if you want something a little more friendly, but depending on what your brand is. You're dealing with like a caring type of environment, you can do that. I'm gonna choose witty.
Nice.
To see what's in there. So it's loading the witty pages. The witty Q&A content. So as it loads, okay. So this is a clear example of you have multiple questions that you can potentially ask. Somebody can say, I'm exhausted. I want to lay down. I wish I could nap. And the answer is, I'm not singing you a lullaby. So it's like a nice witty answer to a question that somebody would have. Then let's say somebody mentions that, oh, I'm at school. This one is a little on the mischievous side, is saying plot twist, that sort of thing. So these are the types of witty, more sassy questions that you can ask and what the answers are. and you can easily remove some of them and add some of them. So now that you have your knowledge base, I'm going to go back to the travel one that we're initially talking about. So that would be this one. Yeah, the more data that you have, the more it takes time for it to load. So we already tested that. I said, hi, it welcomed me. So let me add something more into the context of this travel. So I want to book a flight since this is travel. And let's see what the answer is. So if you can see, you're able to ask a question and it's able to give you a relevant answer. So now that we're done with that, we can proceed to deploying your model because you already trained it, you massaged it, you trained it. Now let's deploy the model. So you click on deploy model. And actually,
So with the whilst that's deploying and with our sort of 5 minutes left towards the end, we've tested in the Azure Portal. Once we've deployed, does that then lead us on to how we then like use it in real life sort of thing? That's where we get this knowledge ID and all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so once you test it, the next thing is it's going to take you to the Azure Portal. So hang on. This one is taking a little while. Let's see. Give me a few minutes. Let me change resources real quick. Yeah, so this is an interesting thing. If you have multiple, let's say, Q&A makers or knowledge base, you can create different resources. So let's go back to the studio. Let's see. I used a prior one. So demo, travel. Okay, so let's create that project real quick. Then I'm going to quickly upload the document, FAQ document. Yeah, for this one, I use, I conflicted it with another project when I was creating it. I forgot to change the agent, the resource agent. So once we upload that, we'll quickly train it, then we'll deploy it to the Azure portal. Do you have any questions while we're doing this?
We do not. It doesn't look like we have many questions. If you have questions over on YouTube, do feel free to ask them. There is one around XML structure, but we might want to, if we can get a little bit more context on that one. I think that probably relates to the structure, and you showed you can do documents, you can do URLs, you can add the Chit Chat databases that are already predefined. So I'd say they're probably some of the key different structures people can use.
Yeah, so it's definitely, I haven't seen XML structure, but I believe once you go to the Q&A makers page, you can see the different formats that it's able to support. I know it supports PDFs. So you can try that. But I don't think I've seen XML before. So let's deploy this knowledge base back to where we were. Sorry for the hiccup. But we're almost there. We're almost at the finishing line.
No, you've really dug into Q&A Maker. Like the Learn module won't quite go as far as Ruth has gone. Ruth's gone much further into all the different things that you can do with it. So you're going to be in a really good place to kind of build off this as well, which is great.
Yeah. So once you deploy it, your model is already ready. So all you need to do is create a bot. So basically, you're just deploying it. Your agent is your language agent is going to be deployed to the Azure portal. So now it's a matter of hosting it. So right now, it's trying to create a web application for the chat bot.
And in the Azure bot service, which is what it's going to create, that's where those channels are, isn't it? Such as, I live in Teams, for example, but it's the same web app bot that's actually sitting behind each thing.
Yeah. So if you notice, it gives for this channel, you say, okay, it's a web bot. You give all the information. It gives you since this is going to be an application, so the endpoint is actually a web application. So it's using the Microsoft application plan to host your web application. You can choose what language that you want it to be. So once you have that, you can click on create. And the good thing is you should be able to have your bot deployed. So let's test the bot. So any questions so far?
No, we do have, though, we could, just whilst you're deploying, we can come back to it. We could do our first knowledge check question. Rav, could we switch just to the knowledge check view? Okay, just while that's deploying very quickly. One of the greatest things about Learn Live is that we all learn together, and part of that is to ask some questions. So Ruth, are you ready? Our resident expert. I hope you can answer these. Otherwise, they are hard. You can vote along with us if you want to. Go to aka.ms/polls, or with a mobile device, feel free to scan that QR code just there, and we can actually push some questions. If you want, people have also been putting their answers in chat. So the question is, your organization has an existing frequently asked questions document. Okay, document. You need to create a Q&A Maker knowledge base that includes the questions and answers from that FAQ with the least effort possible. What should you do? Should you A, create an empty knowledge base and then manually copy and paste the FAQ entries into it? Should you B, import the existing FAQ document into a new knowledge base? Or C, import a predefined Chit Chat data source? So let us know. I can see one comment's come in. Stuart said P. Said B. P was an option. Import the existing FAQ document into a new knowledge base. Ruth, what are you going to go for?
So I'm going to give the audience a hint. The keyword is existing FAQ. If you have an existing one.
Interesting. I think Stuart might have got it right here. Let's see. What is the outcome? Oh, gosh, this is not a time for the... There we go.
Yeah.
Import the existing FAQ into a new knowledge base. How is the deployment going, Ruth?
We're done. Yeah.
Oh, let's go back to the deployment then, because the next question is about the Azure Bot Service.
Okay. Let me know if you can see the screen.
So, Rav, we can just switch quickly back to Ruth's screen.
Okay.
Wonderful. There we go. We can see it. We can see the Azure portal.
Okay. So this is a bot. There's an overview. There's an endpoint. Then the next thing is we're talking about the different channels. So this would be, in our case, we're going to test with the web chat, But these are the different channels that I was talking to. If you want to integrate it with the Alexa, Teams, Kick, you can integrate with that. But another good thing is before you deploy it, you can also test it in the portal. So I'm going to do my infamous hi.
Oh no.
I don't recognize that. Hello?
Oh, is it because we just used the document for this one, wasn't it? So is it the flight one, whereas our other one had the hi, hello entry we added, wasn't it?
Yes.
That makes sense. So
And then-
for that original one, you would have been like, hi, and then Margie's travel stuff, and you could have even asked it, not just travel, but Azure free travel questions as well.
Okay, I got the bot now. Sorry about that. I went to the wrong window. So back to the testing. So are you ready? Okay.
We're ready. I'm on the edge of my seat, Ruth. This is the last minute. Can we see it all come together?
Okay, so
yes.
It says hello, and you can say, can I want to cancel my flight? And you can look at, pay attention to how I just said I want to cancel my flight. But another way you can say is I need to cancel my reservation. So this is kind of like similar to what you were talking about. We call it holiday. Other countries will call it vacation and whatnot. So these are the different ways of what's it called? You can test the different variations. So the natural language processing behind the Q&A maker is able to no matter what the questions are, even if the English is not the perfect, it's able to understand, get the context of what you're trying to ask, and be able to give you an answer. Let's see. The demo gods are for me.
Always the case with live events. It's been like that from the start, but we've done such a wonderful job. Thank you, Ruth, for taking us through all of these great steps, showing us real life. You've literally built it from end to end there. So that's no problem at all. Should we wrap up and always leave them wanting more? There's actually a question. There's a question number 2 in the Learn module that we won't go through that relates to channels. So make sure, if anything, this drives you to want to do the Learn module more. There's a little surprise at the end. So Rav, can we switch? Wonderful. As always, we were talking about Azure free trials. We also want to make sure that if you are using your Azure subscription, that you're making the most of the money that you're using. So should you go through this Learn module and you create these resources, if this is just a test, make sure you delete them afterwards. There are free tiers, but the web service and it's actually the app service in this module that will be running in the background. So the easiest way to do this, delete the resource group. This stuff literally took me 10 minutes in total to create. So you could go and create it again. The Learn module will always be there and available for you to use. So just remember, trying to save you some money here. Don't let random things just be running in your Azure subscription because that's not a great sort of efficient way of doing it. So yeah, do clean up your resources. With that, do not forget to go and complete this module. Ruth has just scratched the surface of what's possible, but this is absolutely the starting point for you on a conversational AI journey. So if you go to aka.ms/learnlive-2022-0314B, you will get to that module. We'll also post it in the chat for you, or you can grab the QR code. this is the last show in the series. We've been we've had highs and lows. We've had wonderful demos. We've had technical issues. We really have had it all this series. But the key thing is we've had some incredible women in AI delivering our wonderful service to everyone here, to anyone who wants to learn AI fundamentals. So thank you so much to Ruth today for joining us, but to also to Carlotta, to Bethany, etc., and everyone in the series for delivering their wicked sessions. You can rewatch the series if you don't know this is a series. Don't worry, it's all available on demand. ak.ms/learnlive-azure-ai-help in hand. I thought that was a nice one to add to the URL, or catch that QR code just there. Again, we'll post it in the chat. Get this one bookmarked. It has all of the links to the previous sessions, and it has all of the links to the relevant Learn modules as well. So it's a super important one. And with that, as I mentioned at the start, in this session, we created a Q&A maker knowledge base, and then we deployed it into an Azure bot service. We learned all about how we bring these two things together and how these two things can create a really simple but effective customer service bot. There is also some great stuff in the Power Platform relating to conversational AI. So if you can also catch another Learn Live, which is Power Virtual Agents, using that link just there, and there will be similar synergies that you'll see. So that could be your next thing after you do the Azure bot service piece. But with that, I will hand it back to Rav to close up. So thank you so much. Thank you, Ruth, for joining us.
Thanks, Amy.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks for joining, and we shall see you again soon.